Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritually Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of November 10th to November 16th. Now, before I do that, I have some news. It's not on the website yet, but it will be by the time this gets uploaded. So I'm not going to show it to you right now. You will be finding it on your own later on. Now, I have said that I will do one more special before the end of the year. And my decision is to make it a Mercury retrograde special. Throughout the Mercury retrograde, sorry, I had to take a very big emphasis breath there. Dramatic me. Okay. Throughout the Mercury retrograde, you will be able to book your sessions, 1 hour sessions, $35 versus the normal 50. 90-minute sessions are going to go down to 50 versus the normal 70. Now, I want to be absolutely clear about this. You only can book at this pricing through the Mercury retrograde. By the time the Mercury retrograde is over, which is going to be November 29th, the deal will be over. And you will never be able to book at this price again. And why am I saying that? I warned at the beginning of October, come January 1st, I'm increasing prices. That means when I do my price increase, if I do a discount, it will never be as low as it's going to be right now. So I want to be absolutely clear from the beginning. If you would like to book sessions with me at the lowest rate possible, this Mercury retrograde is the last time you can do that. Now, I'll put special notes and stuff on the website, and then one of the next episodes, I'll actually show that to where people can go book stuff. But if you are wanting to book sessions with me, even sessions that you're wanting to do in 2026, this is the last time to book at this pricing through this Mercury retrograde. You got 3 weeks to get them booked. Starting with that, I want to go straight into that part of the vibration. You will never be able to book at this pricing again. I mean that. This is not going to change just because Mercury goes direct later on. This decision got made months ago. Okay. Speaking of Mercury retrograde, let's get into the drama. Now, what I said last week is from the full moon's energy through elements of this week that we're going to start talking about. We have something that is going to start to put our energy back to an old way of thinking. It is going to make us go back to something. We are going to have pushback. We are going to have setbacks. And for a few of you, especially as we go into this week, we're going to have some clapbacks, pushbacks, setbacks, clapbacks. Now, I want to start with pushback. Mercury turned retrograde Sunday afternoon, November the 9th, Mercury turned retrograde. And that's where a lot of my emphasis was. Now, as people were going through that last week, there was a stagnancy. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. And I said that was going to happen. There's going to be this vibration of like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know when I'm going to be able to do something. I don't know when I'm going to get something picked up. I don't know when I'm going to be able to take something forward. I don't know what I don't know. And I don't know what I don't know. And that's true. But as we got into the weekend, that vibration, that spiraling energy heightened for a lot of people. But the human effect is we haven't all had the setbacks, the pushbacks, or the clapbacks just yet. Some of you had. You've had documentation show up. You've had some kind of news. You've had some kind of disruption. You've had some kind of accident. You've had a death in the family. You had something that happened that triggered the awareness of, I have no other choice but to go back. I got to go back to see my family. I got to go back to clear out mom's house. I got to go back and do something. Some of you, it has had to do with something around your kids and custody and what it takes to heal this area, trying to get certain things shifted and changed. We have a responsibility that we're being pulled back to. And therefore, there's so many layers to get to that statement as to why I'm saying it that way. And you know what it was. This week, some of you, if you do not know, you're going to discover it. It's going to arrive. It's going to come through. And this initial vibration, it's going to be disruptive, but it's not new disruption. I want to be so clear about this. The new disruption came through in October when I was ranting about that timeline between October 15th and October 25th, but I keep doing an anchor date of like October 20th, October 20th, October 20th, because really all through that 10-day span, there's like 15 some odd transits that happened. And one of them was the Mercury-Mars conjunction. And that was coincided with Mercury entering shadow. We're now talking about Mercury being in retrograde. What does that mean? Some of the topics, some of the conversations, some of the information, some of the crap that happened roughly around October 20th. We got to go back on. We got to revisit. We got to rethink. We're going to get tested on. There's going to be disruptions. There's going to be tensions. There's going to be arguments. The thing about that Mercury-Mars conjunction is we're going to have, again, 5 and a 6 month period. It started in October. It ends in April of 2026. We are starting up the second transit in this series of 5. Mercury is in its detriment. It's in Sagittarius, sorry. He don't do well here. Mercury is now retrograde. Things aren't going to go to plan. People that have been very disconnected in their overconfidence, they're going to have shocks to their system. They're going to have tensions this week. There's going to be frustrations. There's going to be disruption because, again, we are reactivating the Mercury-Mars conjunction. Now, here's the funny thing. It's already reactivated. Sunday evening, I didn't put any emphasis on this last week. I didn't want to because it was like the very little bits of the degree. I wanted to put more focus on it this week. The Mars-Mercury 3-degree range reactivated November 9th, Sunday evening. We're going to put focus on it as we start this week, just FYI. But they hit that 3-degree range. They didn't actually hit their conjunction. Their conjunction will happen this week. And again, Mercury is retrograde, so he's going back over. We're going to have pushback. We're going to have setbacks. We're going to have ClapBacks, especially with that Mercury-Mars. I'm expecting some tensions, some frustrations, arguments, accidents. Sorry, I'm not trying to manifest that. I'm being very realistic. And this week, just as a whole, this is a complete side note. This is going to be a road rage week that people need to be aware of their vibration. Because that Mercury-Mars, there will be accidents. I'm sorry, there will be. I know human effect, that can happen at any time, but heightened energy that I'm not a fan of. So let's be absolutely fair about that. There will be frustrations. There will be setbacks. There will be clapbacks. There will be things coming back from the past, people coming back from the past, being pushed back into the past. For some of you, that's going to be emotional healing, very necessary things to deal with your wounds. For some of y'all, it's going to be super mundane because Mercury has to do with technology, communication. It can have to do with travel. We can have disruptions in travel this week. And that feels like we've known about it for a while anyways. If that's going to be the case, I'm ready for the air traffic controllers to completely shut down. I think that's going to happen. Is it happening this week? Maybe. We'll see. Human effect. You never know when people are going to decide, I'm done. But I feel like a lot of people are going to decide some things that are going to create setbacks, pushbacks, clapbacks. Now, for a lot of people, the things that we committed to roughly around that October 20th timeframe, that's just my anchor date. They're impacting the now. They're impacting the change of opinion. They're impacting the setback. They're impacting the shift. They're impacting our awareness. And it will take weeks to find a resolution, weeks to turn something around, weeks to rethink, revise, repurpose, redraw. Because a lot of November, again, it's messy and it's a test. It's a test to see if we've learned our lessons. It's a test to see if we're going to finally break certain cycles. It is a test. It is a test. It is a test. This week shows us the setback, the pushback. What is making us go back towards something from the past? It's showing direction. It's not necessarily pushing the arrival. I feel like that's the second 2 weeks of the retrograde. This is just the first full one. Now, there's another reason why I'm saying this week we have the turn, we have the setback, we have the pushback, we have the turn in the vibration. And that has to do with Jupiter. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. Mercury is turning retrograde in Sagittarius. Right after Mercury turned retrograde, now Jupiter does, adding a layered effect. Because this pushback has happened, because this setback has happened, because this has not gone to plan, because we don't have the money for this, because we don't know what to do with this, because we can't continue this, something else is impacted. Something else must turn. Something else is going to freeze. Something else is going to get tested. Something else is going to turn around. Setback, pushbacks, clapbacks. Now, what's funny, curious, not funny, haha, funny, curious, is the fact that Jupiter turns retrograde roughly as we're getting real tight in the re-engagement of the Mercury-Mars conjunction. And this is why I'm feeling like some of y'all don't know what your setback is. You don't realize just how much you need to go back and revise something, rethink something. You don't realize just how many people from the past are about to come back around to kind of test your vibration. You don't really know how messy things are going to get until that human effect kicks in. And for some of you, kicks you. Setbacks, pushbacks, clapbacks. That's all I got. I can't see intuitively. I can't see all of this week. I just know it's coming. And it's going to be very hot-headed, overzealous energy with Mercury being retrograde in Sag. There's going to be a lot of people that they think they're going to have everything under control. Just give me a minute and I'll get it fixed. And you don't even realize how deep in the rabbit hole you have to go. Because we're just at the beginning. And ultimately, whenever we land at the other end of this, the support systems for many people are going to change. You don't even realize that yet. You don't even know that quite yet. But we need a lot of the vibration to kind of hit. I feel like by the time we get through Wednesday, the most exact Wednesday, we're going to know what the setback, what the pushback, what the clapback actually is. And then the days after that is either going to be loaded with the overconfidence or the overpromise and overdeliver if we're going to get something changed. And it's going to reflect very quickly that we have to go deeper, whether we like it or not. So let's go into it. Let's get into the week. Let's get into the transits. And be honest, Monday's loaded with transits, especially lunar transits. So I want you to be prepared for this. For a lot of people, we had a very busy weekend. And as we go into Monday, it's still going to be a very, very busy Monday. Now, I'm starting this right after midnight because I do want to show that Mars and Mercury are now in their 3-degree range. Again, this started to happen really late on Sunday, and some people are going to go to bed Sunday feeling an irritability, feeling an irritation, but not necessarily acting upon it, unless maybe you have personal planets in this early area of Sagittarius. I don't necessarily know that everybody is acting upon some things. However, as the first part of the week progresses, I do feel like we're acting on some things. So let's keep this going. I want to bump this to 3:30 because they're going to have 2 transits simultaneously kind of coming through. One, between 2 and 4 a.m., the moon is going to hit the conjunction to Jupiter. You can see that right here. This is talking with the doctor, the guru, the teacher. This is talking to someone about needing some support, but this is Jupiter literally about to turn retrograde. This can be a kind of a meeting or a shock of something, that something is shifting that is going to force someone or enable someone to withdraw support. Now, again, Mercury just turned retrograde in Jupiter's sign. This can be a layered energy. that does still take place on Sunday. I feel like it's still a part of Monday. I feel like we find out something has happened, Mercury turned retrograde, and now there is this extra layer of like, I don't believe in that. I don't support that. I ain't helping with that. I ain't doing that. Moon Jupiter conjunction. This feels like the connection, the meeting, something being brought to awareness. Now, Jupiter is in this trine to Saturn. It's not going to go exact this year. It actually goes exact next year. And by then we'll be in totally different signs when it goes exact. But it feels like we're really close to getting something together, that we're really close to enabling some new form of responsibility or order, but we're not going to hit it the way that we want. There's going to be something that kind of turns and shifts in the system. And that kind of goes with Jupiter turning retrograde. It's just not turning retrograde at this moment. But the moon hitting the conjunction to Jupiter, it is having a conversation with somebody that gives us support, that feeds into our abundance, that teaches us lessons. But sometimes we also have this internalized energy of like, I don't think you're listening to me. And I don't think that I want to keep helping. I don't know that I want to keep doing this. And there can be like one person coming through saying, I need your help doing XYZ. And they're like, you didn't even pay me back for the last 5 times I helped you. I know you're having an issue. I know the cars broke down, Mercury stuff. That's why I'm saying car things. I know you got this news. I know you got served these papers, but you didn't listen to me before. Why do I need to help you now? If you would listen to me before, we wouldn't be in this situation. And that's what part of this feels like. People that are not wanting to take responsibility, people that have just had some kind of mix up, very quickly, one part of us is like, I don't want to help you in the same way. And given again, Jupiter is stationing to turn retrograde. This is why I feel this. Are we saying this to someone all at the same moment? No, it might take us a few days. The moon is going to go through this trine with Saturn. So we can have something about, again, Dr. Guru teacher with Jupiter, but we can also have something about the elder responsibilities, who's in charge of what, somebody not taking certain responsibilities since Saturn is retrograde, therefore turned away from that Jupiter moon conjunction. We can have a past situation trying to come back around. And again, if somebody's asking you for help and they didn't listen to you last time, there can be some part of you like, I don't want to help you again. I don't want to do this with you again. I don't want to be in charge of this. I don't want to save you. I don't want to fix anything. Don't be surprised if we feel that vibration inside of us like, I'm tired of this. Just be aware of that. Again, the moon's going to hit the conjunction to Jupiter. It's in the trine to Saturn. We're going to feel this the most exact, basically between 2 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. As we get into the actual daytime hours, our next 2 transits are going to happen simultaneously. So I want to get this to roughly about 11:30 because that's going to be a happy medium for both. Okay. We got 2 things going on here. One, Neptune is going to hit this trine with the moon. So you can see this here. This is felt the most exact roughly between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. You can see the moon's actually about to change signs right here. We'll get into that here in just a second. At the same time, Uranus is going through a sextile with the moon. Now, remember, Uranus just changed signs. It just went back into Taurus. That happened Friday night. And this is the first little baby moon transit since Uranus went back into that previous sign. And again, we could be getting something, hearing something that we didn't know was going on, Neptune confusing. We get told some kind of information that somebody has come back, something has come back, something has come through. But with Uranus being a part of this vibration, it triggers a shock wave. And it triggers a vibration that speaks to things that need to come to light over the next few days, because while Uranus is in this sextile to the moon, over this hour at specifically 11:34 a.m., which is like 5 minutes away, but here, the moon is going to go into Leo. The moon is going to go into the sun's sign. Over the next 2 days, while the moon is in Leo, there needs to be some things that get brought to the surface. The sun is in Scorpio right now, while the moon is going through the sun's sign. There needs to be some insecurities brought to the surface. There needs to be some frustrations brought to the surface. There needs to be enlightenment brought to the surface. And for a lot of people, that first round of energy of what's been brought to the surface, it's not new. It's the old stuff all over again. It's something from the past coming back through, and it's triggering a frustration. It's triggering an insecurity. It's triggering something in the vibration. Because again, as soon as the moon goes into Leo, it starts its opposition to Pluto. And there can be things around power dynamics and power struggles that enter the vibration as to what's being brought to the surface, what's being brought to light right now. Because for a lot of people, there is some element of revealing that's in this vibration. For some of you, it will be intuitive. For other people, it is again going to be something in the physical sense, something from the past is meant to come back around. And the first round of whatever it is, it's triggering an insecurity. Because again, Uranus in this sextile, Neptune in this trine, there's some parts of it that we were not anticipating, we're very confused by. By the time we get to that 2:30 time span, the moon is fully in that opposition to Pluto. It's felt the most exact between 1:30 and 3:30. This doesn't all have to be tied together per se. You could have something that happened in the morning time that, again, you found out somebody from the past came back around. You were kind of confused about what you needed to work on. You were kind of confused about what was going on. And it's like you actually may have even needed somebody from the past to finally get something handled. Then as we get later into the afternoon, the moon hitting this opposition to Pluto, excuse me, there can be something about a frustration, a power struggle, or an insecurity that kind of comes through right here, given the moon is now in that opposition to Pluto. Now, we're going to keep this going. Give me just a second. Okay. As we get into the afternoon, evening time really, the moon is going to hit a trine to Mars. So I got the moon right here, 5 degrees of Leo, going through this trine to Mars. This is going to be felt the most exact between 7 and 9 p.m. Something that has come to light that is pushing a frustration, pushing a disruption, pushing some kind of change. Remember, Mars stuff can either be pivotal disruption or chaotic disruption. It is enforcing something, and there can be like a fiery energy in this because, again, the moon is in Leo, hitting that trine to Mars, understanding a reaction, understanding a frustration, giving support towards an action or a frustration or a disruption, the moon hitting the trine to Mars. This is definitely the action that you should take. You should probably talk to them. You should probably talk about something. You should keep this going. Now, the other thing that's going on while the moon is going through this trine with Mars is between 8 and 10 p.m. I got it at 8:30, so I'm not moving anything. The moon in Leo is also hitting a square to Venus, and Venus is in Mars's sign. There can be some type of appreciation, appearance change. There can also be the revealing of something that triggers insecurity around loved ones. And again, part of this insecurity can be feeding into this action or reaction with Mars because Venus is in Mars's sign. The layers of the fact that Mars is hosting Venus during this part and the moon is aspecting both Venus and Mars simultaneously. This can be, I support you in the action that you're going to take. I recognize the changes that you want to take. I recognize that you are needing to overcome something. I'm recognizing, or I'm telling you what you need to know so you can finally take an action. And that can be the other thing that's in this support energy. Support is very, very loose in that regard. After the moon goes through the trine with Mars and the square to Venus, between 10:30 p.m. on the 10th and 12:30 a.m. on the 11th, the moon is going to hit the trine from Mercury. Now, Mercury is retrograde. Mercury is actually moving towards the moon here. So there can be something about reception. There, again, can be something about the past coming back around, but it's like a how do I want to say this part? Acceptance, a confirmation. That's the word I'm thinking of. There can be a confirmation that something has changed. And for a lot of people, you won't actually know parts of the setbacks of what's happened over the last few days until we get either into the late part of Monday or, big or here, that early part of the 11th. Because again, the moon hitting the trine with Mercury, it starts on the 10th, it continues into the 11th. The moon is making this connection to Mercury while Mercury is spinning backwards. So we might not get the full acceptance or knowledge of what has changed until we get through either the late part of Monday evening or the early part of Tuesday. Because again, the moon's in that trine to Mercury as we transition into the days. Now, once we get into the morning time at 10:42 a.m. Central Standard Time, so bump this now to 11:30, Jupiter turns retrograde. Mercury just turned retrograde in Jupiter's sign. Even though these two signs don't see each other directly, there can still be influence of something that is coming through that we didn't realize was going to happen. Like it's an indirect consequence. It's an indirect thing. We didn't know one thing was going to feed to another. We didn't know by agreeing to help somebody over here, we were going to piss off somebody over here. And there's a layered effect of, because one thing didn't go to plan, Mercury retrograde. Another thing is getting pulled back. We don't have the same support. We don't have the same beliefs. We're not getting the same support. We're not working with the same doctor. We're not getting something in the same way based off of how the energy is going to go. Because this did not go to plan, because this did not stick to some kind of agreement, neither is this. And again, it's forcing even more that something needs to come to light, something needs to come to the surface. I don't necessarily feel like Tuesday is going to be a big eventful day. I feel like Monday is a lot more eventful. We have a lot more going on with the transits, but there is some things that kind of bring things to light and bring things to the surface. Now, I want to get to this 11:30 time span on the 11th, because on that later part, the moon is going to go through this square with the sun. You can kind of see it's almost exact right here. So here's our last quarter moon. But the moon is in the sun's sign. By the time we get to this last quarter moon, we are aware of something that has come to light, something that has been brought to the surface, something that has been revealed. And for a lot of people, it is going to feed into this disruptive change of plans, this accident vibration, there's something, if it's an accident, the tensions, the clapbacks, the arguments that will be unfolding on Wednesday. But the moon being in the sun sign, hitting that square to the sun, like there's a wind down in the energy, but that wind down also comes with a different level of mental motivation. And for a lot of people, it is going to lead to disruption where a lot of people are going to say, I'm done, or I'm not going to help, even if we don't necessarily know what that is or who that is quite in this moment. Now, again, the moon is going to hit the square to the sun roughly between 10:30 p.m. on the 11th. It continues to this 12:30 time span on the 12th. You can see the moon is still kind of in the square to the sun right here. It's separating, but we're really still really close to a lot of things. The human effect is that revealing vibration, that frustrating vibration, that thing that we didn't see coming can really come through anywhere between the late part of Tuesday into Wednesday based off of like this enlightenment energy. But we're going to keep this going into Wednesday. And most of what we talk about next is actually going to be in the afternoon. And I want people to understand there will be a shock wave. There will be things that are very, very unexpected. Actually, I can't do that yet. But there will be, before we get to that, we have to be aware of the awareness towards wounds and that we need to find a solution. And not everybody's going to like the solution. Sorry, I almost skipped something. I don't know why I keep blocking this one transit out. It's not a heavy transit, but I even blocked it out on my notes and I almost did it again just now. And that is where Chiron, 23 degrees, 43 minutes, goes through this trine with the sun. Now, this is going to be felt the most exact, roughly between 5:30 and 7:30 a.m. You can kind of see that we're building to it right here. It's closer to like that 6 to 6:15 area whenever it goes exact. There's something in this vibration of like the action that we must take is going to either be triggered from an old wound, it has to do with the solution, or it's because of how we overcome a wound, or it's because of the past wound coming back around. There is something about a re-triggering of wounds. Chiron's trine to the sun. And the thing is like people don't even realize they're re-triggering something, because by the time we get into the evening time, sorry, I want to get this to about 5:30, and this will encompass both of them. Because the wound, the frustration hasn't hit everybody quite yet. Now, when it comes to what I explain next, I'm telling you, there's a shock wave that is going to put us into a mindset of like we have to go back over a previous order. Some of this will actually go back to eclipse season, just FYI. It's going to trigger us back to some of the frustrations of before. It is going to make us question whether we made the right decisions before, or it is going to, again, question some of our previous decisions that go even further back than just eclipse season. Like there's something here that is like triggering the setback, the pushback, the clapback. And for a lot of people, it's going to be very, very unexpected, because we've got two things happening simultaneously. One, between 5:07 and 5:27 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's whenever Mercury and Mars are going to hit their exact conjunction. We're a minute off. You can see it here. They're fine. Here's that Mercury Mars conjunction. It is the most exact Wednesday evening. If you are having anxiety issues, if your tension is high, if there is an argument, if there is frustration, Mercury Mars energy. If some of you have heightens in your anxiety and your blood pressure and things along these, Mercury Mars. If you have something that happens that literally impacts your limbs, Mercury Mars. If you have something that impacts your travel, unexpected impacts to how you were going to go somewhere, what you were going to do, Mercury Mars. In addition to that, we have this square between Uranus and the moon. There will be something unexpected. There will be something that does not go to plan. There will be something from the past coming back around that was kind of unexpected. For some people, it might be exciting. I don't know about that. It might be exciting. I question excitement. I feel like it's pushback. I feel like it's clapbacks. I feel like it's more likely, well, if we put it in a percentage ratio, 70% more likely to be tension, frustration, and shit not going to plan. 30%, oh, exciting person coming back from the past. We haven't seen each other forever. I can't even remember the last time we talked. For some of you, that person coming back from the past goes, I want to punch you in the face, because we don't necessarily know the shock that we're going to feel. But when we add the fact that Uranus is in the square to the moon while the Mercury-Mars conjunction is happening, oh, there's going to be a test. There's going to be shock. There's going to be things that do not go to plan. This is going to get real intense. But what's interesting, at 5:52 p.m., so I'm going to just pump this by an hour, the moon is going to go into Virgo. The moon is going to go into Mercury's sign while Mercury is in that conjunction to Mars. What does Mercury rule for you? In general, it rules communication, it rules travel, it rules anything tied to information. But with the moon going into Virgo, whatever that disruption is in the Mercury-Mars conjunction becomes our mercurial focus over the next 2 days while the moon is in Virgo. What changes started to happen from late August all through September through eclipse season? That's why I said there could be some stuff from eclipse season coming back through that has led to this level of disruption. Something that we committed to before, somebody that we hired, something that we purchased, suddenly feeding into parts of the disruption with the Mercury-Mars conjunction. That there can be accountability, there can be frustrations, there can be practical changes that need to be made. But the thing is, the practical changes are coming with tension. They are coming with arguments. They are coming with frustration. And once the moon goes into Virgo, whatever the mercurial shock, clapback, setback, whatever this is, becomes our focus once the moon goes into Virgo. And there's something that we need to change the order of. There's something that we need to change some advice on. There's something that we're going to be changing now that the moon is in Virgo. The moon is in Mercury's sign. Now, not everybody is going to be quick to say, I've made a mistake. Let's be fair about that. Mercury is very much about overconfidence while it is in Sagittarius, and is not necessarily wanting to be connected in the same ways. Mercury does rule travel. This is why I was like, this can also be an accident. And that means once the moon goes into Virgo, whatever that Mercury-Mars conjunction is, becomes our mental focus for the next 2 days. Oh, it's going to be a lot. And I fully anticipate my DMs are going to be very, very busy this day. So there's that. Okay, we're going to keep it going. There's no more transits to the 12th. We're just lingering with whatever this is, whatever this frustration is, whatever this argument is, whatever the tension is. We're just kind of lingering in a vibration. And now we're going to get into the 13th. Now, when it comes to the 13th, what's going to be really interesting is, again, that focus on the mercurial change. The first transit we're going to have is roughly between 4 and 6 a.m. The moon in Mercury sign in Virgo is hitting the square to Mercury. And this feels like talking to someone that understands the changes of before, talking to someone about the pattern of what was before, and trying to get some type of news, some type of information. Some of us, we're going to be that person that we have to talk to multiple people. It's like we're almost a referee of some sort. The moon hitting the square to Mercury. And then right after that, between 5 and 7 a.m., I got this now at 5:30, the moon hits the square to Mars. This feels like an extra wave of questioning, actions, reactions to the tension of whatever happened the day before. We have to make some additional calls. We have to have additional conversations. We need additional input. We need somebody else to come through because this is now a part of our focus. We need the boss to settle something. We need a parent. We need a guardian. We need somebody to settle something between the siblings. There is a questioning of the action and the reaction, where money went, where things have gone, who filed what, who said what went wrong, because we had a shock to the system that people were not anticipating. Now, as we get a little bit later into the morning time, but still very much the morning time, between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to hit a sextile to Venus. This doesn't feel heavy, but this does feel like a first wave of some kind of solution, of some type of understanding, of some type of outcome. But it's like a little mini baby wave. For some people, it's going to be talking about the appearance of something or have the taste of something. Especially if people have recently changed something in the appearance of something, or they're wanting to make some kind of change. This does not necessarily feel like it's tied to the tension of this vibration. But for some people, it can be like, I think I might have found a solution. I think I really kind of understand where the frustration has come from. And if we look at one or two options, there might be a solution. But for a lot of people, whatever the solution is, not everybody's going to want to agree. I feel like a lot of this week is trying to come to some kind of solution and some type of middle ground that not everybody is going to agree to. Are you going to know that throughout this week? Not necessarily. We're trying to find the best of the vibrations of what's going to be practical, of what everybody can agree to. And I'm just letting you know, some of it might not necessarily go to plan. Now, we're going to get into the very late hour, right around midnight, because there's something that starts on this 11:30 time span. You can see it right here, but it actually happens more exact on Friday. So right after that 12:30 area. So I want to show this now, and that is the moon is hitting this conjunction to the south node. Now, the south node, again, is the body of the dragon, the body that has been released, removed, outgrown, purged, let go of. The moon hitting this conjunction to the south node right after that Mercury-Mars conjunction, because again, moon south node in Virgo, this is Mercury's sign. For some people, there is going to be an internalized energy of like something needs to be removed, somebody needs to be let go, somebody needs to be disconnected from. Whether we act on it right here or not, I don't feel like a lot of people are acting on anything. I feel like it's an internalized energy. And again, the moon's going to hit this conjunction to south node. It starts on the 13th. It is more exact on the 14th. You can see this right here. And you can see that the moon south node is nearly exact here at 12:30 a.m. There is something here that feels like an internalized energy of what we need to let go of, what we're not going to continue doing, where we need to minimalize something, where we need to let something go, where we need to let someone go, based off of the disruption that has just occurred. For a lot of people, this is a very internalized energy. Now, the other thing about the moon south node right here is the fact that this is, again, the body of the dragon. And for some people, there is going to be a physical effect to the body based off of this moon south node conjunction. Now, this can go any time between Thursday and Friday. It is the most exact here at this midnight hour. So I want to be clear about that. And there still can be a physical effect of something in the body because of what Mercury rules and what Mars rules. And again, I kind of said this during the Mercury-Mars conjunction. If we're having something tied to the body, blood pressure or anything like that, do not ignore it. That physical reaction is there for a reason, because sometimes we physically react to energies and not necessarily have a physical action, but a bodily reaction. And I want people to be aware of that too. Okay. Let's keep it going and let's get into the actual afternoon time span, roughly between 12:30 and 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm getting this now at 1:30. The moon is going to go through a sextile to the sun. This is not super heavy energy, just so everybody is aware. The moon hitting this sextile to the sun, like there's information that needs to be addressed and provided to. There can be some kind of decisions that kind of impact certain people's confidence with the sun. There can be kind of a harboring of certain energies, like I need more time to think about something. We're getting closer to making a decision, but I don't think we're making a decision all in this moment. It's like coming to terms that maybe this is the best for everybody. And that can be a big part of this vibration as we kind of continue. Now, when we get into the evening time, there can be things where we need additional inputs from before. And this can literally tie back to whatever was going on in that Monday, Tuesday timeframe with what we start to talk about next. This is going to be felt the most exact between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. So I've got this now at 6:30 because it's going to encompass both. And that is Jupiter is going to hit a sextile to the moon. You can see this here. Jupiter 25 degrees, 8 minutes. Here's the moon 25:18. Simultaneously, the moon is hitting this opposition to Saturn. And this is exact at this 6:30 time frame. Moon 25:18, Saturn 25:18. We're trying to get a solution. We're presenting it to the authority figure. We're presenting it to the boss. We're presenting it to the elder. We're trying to support someone. And we're starting to get that first little inkling now that Jupiter is retrograde of like, I don't want to do this the same way. I don't want to continue doing this. I don't want to help them. I don't want to support them. There can be a lot of like very stagnant stalemate energy of like, this isn't my problem. This isn't the stuff. And I don't feel like we're getting a lot of solutions. I feel like we're one thing after another. We're hitting walls of like not hearing what we want to hear. But again, we're not in an energy that speaks to progress, given the moon hitting this opposition to Saturn and that sextile from Jupiter. Now, there can be big things in regards to what's going on in the collective as to like mass energy of like certain news coming out from authority figures that doesn't support everyone or it doesn't help everyone. It doesn't actually give the solution that we have been anticipating. And there again can be something that feels like someone is not being supported or someone no longer supports the actions that are going on, the decisions that have been made. We don't trust, we don't believe. There's something very much about the stagnancy in this vibration that is feeding even more into the setbacks, the pushbacks, the clapbacks. Are we getting clapbacks right here? Maybe. It is the moon hitting the opposition to Saturn. And some of us might be willing to tell somebody who's like sitting proud as an authority figure, like, this is what you're doing wrong. This is how you're not helping. This is how you have created the situation. And for some people, that Saturnian vibration, they need to hear, you're screwing up too, boss man. You screwed this up too. You didn't do the right thing. You have not been handling your responsibility either. Moon opposite Saturn. Just FYI. Now, this conversation, tension, vibration, it is felt the most exact between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on the 14th. We're going to keep it going now. We're going to get into the 15th. And this next little part is going to be roughly between 1:30 and 4:30 a.m. I'm giving a bigger window because we have two transits happening simultaneously. And that is going to be the moon is going to hit this opposition to Neptune. You can see this right here at this 2:30 mark. We're pretty close to it being exact. Simultaneously, the moon is going to go through a trine from Uranus. And again, we have something from the past, someone from the past that has been very, very unexpected, that is leading into elements that feel confusing. There can be something about lies, fraud, deception with the Neptune energy. There can be things that are just not very, very clear, and it feels very shocking to the system. There could be stuff from past situations coming back around that we don't even remember doing something. It's like, I'm just not clear of how we got to this point. Now, considering this is the most exact in the overnight hours, some people, this is going to be a very big dream energy. It's going to be more of the downloads and stuff like that. For other people, it will find some way of manifesting in the daytime hours of something that has come through unexpectedly, that is leading into some level of confusion, that we don't necessarily have a clear vibration of how to fix something, but it feels like an extra wave of that vibration of not getting a whole lot accomplished right now, but more and more stuff from the past finding its way back through. Because again, Uranus is just a few days into Taurus. Like, he just came back on the 7th. On the 15th, we're 1 week into it right here. Okay. Oh, the moon hitting this opposition to Neptune, though, it can be a spiritual energy, but it can also be the lies, the fraud, the deception. It can be beliefs from the past, insecurities from the past coming back around. It can be things tied to symptoms for some people, treatments for other people. And there can be some kind of news over the course of that Friday, Saturday timeframe, is that we can't continue some kind of treatment because it's not going to keep working. Now, at 3:44 a.m. Central Standard Time, bumping this now to 4:30, the moon is going to go into Libra. The moon is going to go into Venus's sign. And where is Venus? Venus is in Scorpio. Now, Venus, being the tail planet to a lot of things, has been bringing a lot of solutions, a lot of outcomes, a lot of things to the forefront. And the moon going into Venus's sign means the things that need to come to light, the things that need to come into focus, solutions that need to be made are, again, the things that people don't necessarily want to talk about. They're not necessarily clear on, but it requires us doing deeper dives in this stuff that's been going on below the surface. And that means little checks to the ego, because that's what's going to put things back into balance. The moon going into Libra, it's not an intense energy, but it is a noisy energy. It is a loud energy. And I feel like by the time we get to the end of the week, there'll be a lot of things that people got to say. There's a lot of things that people want to reveal. There'll be a lot of secrets that find their way to the surface, because the people from the past coming back around and triggering stuff is also making us remember some things we need to say. For other people, it's going to be us remembering things that we need to say about them, about that, about anything else but ourselves. Some people are ready for accountability. Some people are not. That's a very different conversation. We're going to continue this. The moon is now in Libra. Now, once the moon goes into Libra, between 6 and 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, I got this now at 6:30, the moon is going to go through a trine to Pluto. It's very interesting. It's not like alarm bell energy. What I am looking at is the moon is in Venus's sign, while Venus is in Pluto's sign. So I feel like there's a lot of like news and understanding as to how we got to a dynamic where we've had a power struggle or where we have decided to make changes. This is actually kind of an uplifting energy for some people, and again, noisy and awareness energy for others. But there is a big vibration of the steps that we take to heal something, to overcome something that is starting to come into the mix, but we don't have initial vibrations towards exactly what that is. It's going to be louder and more dominant as to like what we need to get back under the surface and deal with. That's going to be more in the awareness next week, and in the next 2 weeks following. This is just kind of something that like hits little things towards the ego. So we're going to keep this going. The moon's going to hit that trine to Pluto. A couple more hours later, the moon is going to hit a sextile to Mercury. Oh, I just went past it. That is going to be felt the most exact roughly between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. So you can see the moon right here. Here's that sextile to Mercury. Mercury is retracing areas of the sky that he did back in the first week of November, the first few days, but more so October, where we had certain things figured out that realizing we don't have them the same way. The moon hitting the sextile to Mercury can literally be like, you have to go back over something. You have to revise your thinking. What you're thinking is not necessarily the way it's going to be for everybody. Not everybody likes to hear that kind of stuff. But given that we went from a lot of energy kind of in Mercury signs at different points to now only the South Node, we need to revise something to make it fair for everyone, moon in Libra. Okay. And in a lot of ways, we've known that anyways. It's just we didn't necessarily want to accept it. A couple hours later, the moon is going to go into a sextile to Mars. You can see that here. This is felt the most exact roughly between 7:30 and 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So here's the moon, 8 degrees, 27 minutes, hitting that sextile to Mars. This feels like a supportive energy more than anything, given that Venus is in Mars's sign. I understand the action that you have to take. I understand the decisions that you need to do to heal. I understand the long-term implications of what you're wanting to do. I also understand not everybody is ready to take the actions that you're ready to take. So you can take some actions in this moment, but not all the actions. We can talk about certain reactions in this moment, but we are not going to get a full accountability of adaptation and change and what needs to be uncovered to heal something, just to be clear. Okay. The moon hitting that sextile to Mars right here, you can see that, again, is felt the most exact between 7:30 and 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to keep this going. Now we're going to get into the 16th. And the moon's going to be in Libra all day long, but she's not doing a whole lot. There ain't a whole lot going on while the moon is in Libra. We're actually kind of building to an outer planet transit that's going to start late on the 16th. It will continue into the 17th. And this is actually literally going to happen right at that 11:30 mark. So we are right before midnight on the 16th on Sunday. I don't expect big things going into the weekend. I don't expect big motions of activity, but I do expect some things to kind of come to the surface as to why someone is no longer willing to make a change, and simultaneously a push of awareness towards certain responsibilities that have no other choice but to change. Like, we're not getting anything else from this other side. You have to make a decision. Now, there's an energy that is starting here that, again, still ties back to that October 20th time frame. And that has to do with the sun in the trine to Jupiter while simultaneously entering the trine to Saturn. This starts on the 16th, this sun-Jupiter trine. Now, anytime Jupiter is involved here, this usually has to do with luck. We have this big energy towards water signs, and the fact that there's a lot of things in Jupiter signs right now, right after Jupiter turned retrograde. Like, I've given and given and given all that I can give. I've supported and taken all this action, all that I can. I have given you everything. I have said everything. I've preached everything. And there's literally nothing else for me to do. Hands in the air. You have to do something different. They have to do something different. There's a different level of accountability here. There's something else that needs to get addressed. And that comes through with the sun's trine to Saturn. Now, again, the sun trine Saturn, it's exact on the 17th. It's a part of the next week's energy. And it's a part of the next week's flow. But the Jupiter trine to the sun, it is exact on the 16th. So there's a shift in our emotions. There's a shift in our healing. There's a shift in our luck. There's a shift that is necessary. And for many people, it's because of the previous decisions that we made that shouldn't have been made. They didn't stick. There's some type of additional lessons and responsibility in care, in where we teach certain lessons and who we support and who supports us that starts to come into the horizon, into the forefront, somewhere between the 16th and the 17th. The thing about that grand trine between the Sun, Jupiter, and Saturn right here is Jupiter and Saturn are both retrograde. That tells me other people in certain situations are either tired of giving too much, Jupiter newly retrograde, or Saturn being too damn stubborn about what he did before. And the reason I'm specifically saying before is because of the location of Saturn. Saturn at 25 degrees of Pisces, the last time he was here was April. Earlier this spring, where we made certain commitments to do things, where we made certain conjunctions in the energy post Venus retrograde of an action that we wanted to take. And some of the actions that we took back then, we took in survival mode, and they weren't meant to stick. We're now in an energy of where some of the vibrations and some of the intentions and some of the energy that we met with and we set back in the springtime are now a part of where we need to make solutions, of where we need to make adjustments, of where we need to make some changes. The awareness of those changes will be coming through by the end of the week, but really more of the focus into next week. Some of us are going to feel like certain people in our lives have removed support. We are literally going to get told that this week. Some of us, we are going to be telling people, I'm not going to pay for this. I'm not going to do this. I am not going to support this. I don't care what you have to say. I'm not going. This ain't happening. Boy, bye. Girl, bye. Ain't doing it. Because that's what's best to protect your peace, is not continuing some level of support. But the thing is, because you don't continue some level of support, someone else is going to be very stubborn of like, well, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to pay for it. No, I committed to this a long time ago. I did this. And they're not going to be quick and willing to make a change. Most of them that are very stagnant, and that's where we're going to have a lot of difficulties in this energy, is the setbacks, the clapbacks, the pushbacks are also being met with additional stagnant energy. And so much of the vibration speaks to, we have to bring awareness to where changes need to be made. And because someone else is withdrawn the support, like, look, I've supported you the whole time. I've been helping, I've been doing all this, and now I'm tired of your shit. Not going to continue. The person that has been the most stubborn of not willing to make a change. I already did changes. I already did this healing. I already did something. I've done it for months now. That doesn't mean you were right. And there are going to be things as we get to the end of this week, and more so going into the rest of the month, where we have to revisit some of the stuff that we did earlier this year, commitments that were made, conversations that were had earlier this year that are not meant to continue. They're not meant to stick. Be aware of that. There's a necessary part of the revision. We can't go completely back to what we had before. We've done too much damage. There has been too much damage. But we have to rewrite some of the rules in ways that are going to be more appealing for everyone. There needs to be a bridging of energy, but it's a new bridge, not an old bridge. We ain't going back to where we had. We can't get back on top of the cliff. It ain't happening that way. But we need to find a way to nurture something in our lives that goes back further than our initial energies anticipated. So be aware of that. Long-term energies and long-term vibrations that we have to revise and rethink, but we're not going to be willing to accept the revisions of whatever that is until we get through all of the awareness of the pushbacks, the setbacks, and the clapbacks of this week. That's what I got. Pushback, setback, clapbacks. Until we get to the very, 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 very end of this actual week. And then as we go into next week, the dynamic, the conversations, the focus will change immensely. So be aware of that. We will only be stagnant for so long, but it's a necessary energy. It's a necessary messy, and it is going to force for many of us to rethink the directions of where we have been, because a lot of November, going back to the very beginning episode of the month, is about making choices of where our no long-term vibration are going to go. And for a lot of people, that's going to result in some splits. This energy feels like a lot of the awareness as to why the splits are necessary. So be aware of that. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.